Do you ever feel like anxiety is taking over your life? Or maybe you've noticed that more and more people seem to be diagnosed with ADHD. These are common questions today, and for good reason. Anxiety affects millions of people around the world, and ADHD diagnoses are skyrocketing. But what's the best treatment for anxiety? And is there really an uptick in ADHD diagnoses? Today, we'll dive into these topics, breaking down treatments for anxiety, and examining why ADHD diagnoses seem to be on the rise. Stay with us until the end, because you won't want to miss these insights. Anxiety is something that many people face on a daily basis. It's not just about feeling nervous or worried once in a while. For some, anxiety can be so overwhelming that it interferes with their everyday lives. The good news is that there are effective treatments that can help manage anxiety. But the best treatment depends on the individual.
The best quality treatments that exist for anxiety and depression. And when we say anxiety and depression, we're really quoting from DSM-5. This is generalized anxiety disorder or major depressive disorder. The highest level of evidence goes for a combination of mental health therapy, which means usually cognitive behavioral therapy or some other avenues, plus medications, which are usually SSRIs, but there's a whole range of medications that can work for individuals. Now, if you have a mild case of these conditions, which we use validated scoring systems and conversations with our patients to figure out, we don't have to institute both simultaneously.
One of the most widely recommended treatments for anxiety is cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. CBT is a form of talk therapy that helps people identify and change the negative thought patterns that often fuel their anxiety. By focusing on how thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are connected, CBT can help individuals understand the root of their anxiety and develop strategies to cope with it.
A common book that I give to my patients is called Feeling Good by Dr. David Burns, who I'm actually scheduled to have a conversation with the next month, kind of on the forefront of the development of CBT and talking about how our cognitive distortions, which are natural emotional reasoning part of our brain that we're all susceptible to, can sometimes go too far and drive these symptoms of anxiety and depression in us, and how that therapy can actually help an individual. And what I like about cognitive behavioral therapy and why I've been on board on recommending it for such a long time is that not only is the evidence for it great that it works, but it's also really rational. It's very reasonable. A lot of people think when we say therapy, there's some kind of woo-woo involved in it. And I say woo-woo in quotes because it's not really woo-woo. It's just a very practical way of thinking. And it doesn't mean that therapy is not going to make you feel. It's not going to remove all anxiety or all depressive symptoms. The goal of it is to recapture some control so that when you do feel anxiety, it doesn't take you to that really dark place. That when you do feel depressed, you don't go to that dark place.
Over time, this can significantly reduce anxiety symptoms. What's great about CBT is that it's not just about managing the immediate feelings of anxiety, but it also provides long-term coping mechanisms. People who practice CBT often find that they can manage their anxiety more effectively in the future because they have the tools to challenge their negative thoughts.
Our brains are wired for negativity. There's great books on the subject called literally The Power of Bad or The Power of Negativity. And that's assumed to be the reason why we've survived so long, because we were constantly worried about the risks and threats around us. And now we live in a safer place in comparison to 1,000 years ago. And therefore, those anxieties are still present, but a lot of times they're overblown. And when you have a mind that's not moving, meaning that you're not doing much, you're not surrounded by stimulus, you will experience more anxiety than the person who is busy doing something or that is facing a true threat. And what I have to remind myself quite often is the positive things that happen. I'm not great at celebrating my wins, and that's something I've been striving to change for a long time. And it's not easy to change, but it's important to have some techniques ready if those symptoms or situations arise where you do feel down.
Another common treatment for anxiety is medication, particularly selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, SSRIs. SSRIs work by increasing levels of serotonin in the brain, a chemical that helps regulate mood.
The world of SSRIs is that they're still very much prescribed. They're still very much first line, indicated for major depressive disorder, in some cases generalized anxiety disorder. I use them quite frequently. Do I use them on every patient? Absolutely not. I think they've been villainized. There's stigma attached to them. There's also misinformation about them constantly on the web. I mean, there's even a popular, I guess you could call him a health influencer, Gary Brecka, who I've made reaction videos to, where he talked about how these SSRIs work. And it just was like flat out wrong.
This type of medication can be highly effective for people whose anxiety is linked to chemical imbalances in the brain. However, medication is not always the right answer for everyone. Some people prefer to avoid medications due to potential side effects, and others may not see significant improvement with drugs alone. In these cases, a combination of therapy and medication might be the best approach. Beyond therapy and medication, lifestyle changes play a key role in managing anxiety. Regular physical activity, for example, has been shown to reduce anxiety by lowering stress hormones like cortisol and increasing the production of endorphins, our body's natural mood boosters. Exercise can be something as simple as a 30-minute walk each day, or more intense activities like running or weightlifting. The important part is staying consistent. Other lifestyle adjustments, like practicing mindfulness or meditation, can also help. Mindfulness involves focusing on the present moment and letting go of worries about the future or regrets about the past. Meditation, especially when practiced regularly, can improve overall mental clarity and help calm an anxious mind. There's a reason why these practices have been embraced in mental health treatment. They are simple but effective ways to help reduce stress and anxiety. Additionally, something as straightforward as getting enough sleep and eating a healthy diet can have a profound effect on mental health. Sleep deprivation and poor nutrition are closely linked to increased anxiety levels, so it's important to prioritize both. Staying hydrated and consuming nutrient-dense foods that support brain function, like fruits, vegetables, and whole grains, can help regulate mood and energy levels throughout the day. Now, let's shift gears to the growing trend of ADHD diagnoses. In recent years, more people, particularly adults, are being diagnosed with ADHD, and this has raised some eyebrows. Is this because ADHD is becoming more prevalent, or are we just getting better at recognizing it?
I think that there is a pretty fair uptick in it, whether that's recognition of the condition and more people being aware of it, whether that's patients coming in requesting treatment specifically for said condition and doctor goes along with it without truly doing a diagnosis, whether that's a doctor giving someone ADHD medication in order to help them from a performance enhancement standpoint, which does happen. Hard to say what percentages those things fall under, but there's definitely been an increase in the diagnosis, at least, of ADHD. And the treatment for those who struggle with ADHD is amazing. Because if you're truly struggling with hyperactivity, with attention deficit, you can't maintain good social relationships. You can't focus while you drive. You can't do well on tests. You can't get a good education. These are things that actually contribute to not just a shorter life, but a life that is less quality, meaning that you have true mental health issues that arise as a result of the undertreatment of ADHD. So the fact that we're treating people who are truly suffering with it is amazing, and we need more of that.
One of the reasons for the apparent uptick in ADHD diagnoses is improved awareness and diagnostic tools. In the past, ADHD was often only associated with hyperactive children. However, today, we know that ADHD can present itself in different ways, including inattentiveness and restlessness, and it affects adults just as much as children. Many adults who struggle with focusing, organizing tasks, or managing time may have had ADHD their whole lives without realizing it. As mental health awareness grows, more people are seeking help and receiving the diagnoses they need.
Someone who can't sit and concentrate for more than seconds at a time, constantly having to shift their attention because they're unable to control it, And really, it's that lack of control that we'll probably come back to throughout this conversation, where people struggle with ADHD who have a severe case of it. And what's interesting about ADHD, it's not going to be just noticeable to the person. It'll be noticeable to their coworkers. If they're a student, it'll be noticeable to their teachers. They'll get in trouble more. They'd be labeled as a troublemaker in their class. Their parents would know about it. So a lot of times when we're doing these investigations, especially in adolescence, we give papers that allow us to do a scoring system for the patient, but also for those around them to get a better view of how they're interacting with their outside world.
Dr. Mike has spoken about the importance of accurate diagnosis. ADHD can often be misdiagnosed because it shares symptoms with other conditions, such as anxiety and depression. If someone is feeling restless or has trouble focusing, it doesn't necessarily mean they have ADHD. It could be a result of stress, anxiety, or even poor sleep habits. This is why a thorough evaluation by a qualified healthcare professional is critical. Rushing to a diagnosis without considering all factors can lead to inappropriate treatments. On the other hand, some experts worry that there's an element of overdiagnosis happening, particularly in certain environments where high levels of distraction and pressure are commonplace. For example, our fast-paced, tech-heavy world makes it easier to lose focus or feel overwhelmed. Constant notifications, multitasking, and a busy lifestyle can mimic symptoms of ADHD, leading some people to seek out a diagnosis. Dr. Mike points out that while it's great that people are becoming more aware of ADHD, it's equally important to ensure that the diagnosis is accurate. Another factor contributing to the rise in ADHD diagnoses is the increased availability of telemedicine and online assessments. These platforms can be incredibly convenient, especially for people who may not have access to traditional in-person consultations. However, there's a concern that some online assessments might not be thorough enough, potentially leading to misdiagnoses. While telemedicine has its benefits, it's crucial that these assessments are followed up by detailed evaluations from medical professionals. So, how do we strike the right balance? When it comes to both anxiety and ADHD, the key is a personalized approach. There's no one-size-fits-all solution, and what works best will vary from person to person. For anxiety, a combination of therapy, lifestyle changes, and possibly medication can be highly effective. If you're struggling with anxiety, seeking professional help is the best first step. A therapist or counselor can help you explore different treatment options and find what works for you. For ADHD, getting a comprehensive evaluation is essential. If you suspect you or someone you know may have ADHD, it's important to seek out a healthcare professional who can provide an accurate diagnosis. Dr. Mike emphasizes that the focus should always be on finding the right treatment plan for each individual, whether that includes therapy, medication, or lifestyle changes. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on more insights into mental health. Anxiety and ADHD are complex topics, but with the right approach, they can be managed effectively. Thanks for watching.